Dr. Paul Roos is an endocrinologist and wrote that these treatments for gender dysphoric youth are drastic and experimental. Dr. Roos, there's a lot of politics involved in the passage of this legislation today, but I have a question after reading a lot about this. Why is the medical community so afraid of considering the impact of hormone treatment and surgeries and so forth for the young?
Well, it's very important to recognize that what is being put forward with the goal of truly helping these individuals that are suffering is based on very, very poor science. And any effort to draw attention to the poor science and the potential very negative and serious consequences of these hormonal interventions really has not been given the attention that it deserves. And it's very unique compared to this particular condition in comparison to other diseases that we care for as physicians.
Well, the kids who are under the age of 18, who have not fully developed, even people who've gone through puberty, their sexual maturity in most cases hasn't been reached, correct, doctor, until maybe 23, 24, 25 years of age? That's what I've been reading in the medical literature today.
That is true, and in fact, aspects of both physical development and emotional development, we tend to equate everything that goes on related to puberty, but there's the entity called adolescence as well, and there's a normal developmental process that goes on in children, where as they're trying to come to terms with the changes going on in their body, or also struggling to identify themselves in relation to their peers, and this is a normal process that we see in children. One of the concerns that is about this particular approach to treating these individuals that have a gender identity that is not in accord with their biology is that it will actually influence how they're able to make that normal integration and really subject them to the need of medical intervention that has potential very serious harms to their bodies throughout the rest of their life without even considering whether there are alternative options to help them, and even recognizing that a large number of children that question their gender identity are going to, if merely left alone, are going to realign their identity with their biological sex.
Well, the studies that have been done show that 85 to 90% of children no longer experience feelings of gender dysphoria after having gone through puberty. In your mind, is that a correct figure?
The estimates vary, but it's the majority. All of the studies that have been done, and there's been over a dozen studies, and many of the earlier studies were small studies, have all consistently shown the same effect. One of the most concerning observations was, however, if one tries to interfere with that normal pubertal development to stop normally timed puberty in children, that all of the children in the small study that was done looking at the effect of that all went on to persist in that transgendered identity, really changing that statistic drastically from the normal trajectory that we normally see.
Yeah, we have Congress folks today saying that concern about this legislation is a bunch of fear-mongering. Katie Hill from California. Let's watch.
This is fear-mongering about trans women playing in sports. Are you kidding me? I don't know if my colleagues on the other side of the aisle realize that they've met trans people, but they have. They definitely have.
So, Doctor, it goes to that. The conversation moves away from, and when specifically about transgender folks, it's the politics that gets involved. But the reality, medically, is something that, to me, is just being completely overlooked. I read that there are 45 centers that have cropped up across the country, major medical institutions that are devoted a lot of resources to the treatment of transgenderism and reassignment surgery and so forth. That is a explosive growth in the treatment of, and it's big money, is it not?
Well, it's actually over 50 now, and really the amazing concern about the growth of this particular approach to dealing with children that have this transgendered identity is to adopt a single intervention that's based on very, very poor quality science, and even those that are advocating for this intervention, that are involved in this intervention for children, will acknowledge that the science really has not been done to really establish what the long-term effects are. And already the data that's coming forward raises serious concerns, not only in how these children are going to normally move through these developmental stages and their identity, but the effects of the hormonal treatment having effects on the body that are going to be fertility issues, infertility, increased risk of cardiovascular disease, and the data really is not there, but we know quite a bit, and this gets back to the point of really clouding the difference between when we're talking about gender identity and the biological reality of sex. We know that giving hormones to individuals that is not in line with their biological sex is not the same thing as giving it to in levels that are normally present in them, and so many
Dr.
concerns about this. And
We've got to go, but this is something that must be studied, and it must be done meticulously, peer-reviewed studies. We have children involved. Forget all of the other important implications that are political and religious. There are children involved. Children. We're talking
these children
about kids.
are very much being harmed, yes.
All right. Well, Doctor, thank you.
And really
Thank you so much, Doctor. Sorry, we're out of time. We'll have you back. This is an issue that's not going away.